What's up, everybody? My name is Paul DiNuzzo, or maybe Paulie D.
And I'm the guy with the weird European accent, Richard Eric Jarvi. And before we get any further, we're here to wish you a very happy birthday.
This
Not
guy.
we, just me. I wish I had the others here, but just happy birthday to you, man.
Well, I appreciate that. It's always good to get another year older, at least get a little recognition for getting another year older. One more trip around the sun, and I survived. So.
That's right. Paul turned 87 today, so it's a big year for him.
Actually, when 900 years old you reach, look as good. You will not. How you are, we, Richard?
Well, I kind of ruined their intro, so
You did. You totally ruined our intro. So we're class action. That's what we are.
That's right. Tell the good people, the honorable jury, what is this thing we call class action?
Class Action is our show here on the Action Industries YouTube channel, where we take a look at any film at all. It could be new film, old film, blue film, green film, whatever. And we discuss it, give our thoughts, give a brief review on it. But our show is not based on reviews. That's simply an added bonus, because what we do is we take that film review and we use it to inspire what we will present as our Class Action Brief of the Week.
That's right. The Class Action Brief of the Week is where we take two opposing viewpoints, movies, franchises, or even Hollywood personas, and with the help of 5 custom-made categories, decide which is the big winner.
Which is something interesting to me that as we started making episodes, is that we could have 2 brief points that could be diametrically opposed and seem like it's such a landslide one way, but it depends on the categories we have chosen to make the battle work. It could totally change the output. I could love one movie more than the other, but you take different 5 categories, they could switch the other way, so you never know what you're going to get. But anyway,
never know what you're going to get.
Never know what you're going to get. But as I mentioned, we are on the Action Industries channel, the home of all things Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy, 2 great guys who are giving us our chance. And we're responsible for such wonderful content, such as the Action Guys on Collider podcast, Action Reviews, and of course the Action Movie Anatomy, their big baby. Their show on the Popcorn Talk Network, which is well over 200 episodes now. Eventually, I'm going to have to start saying 225 or 250 because we're just getting more and more down the line.
Getting up there.
That's how we met. We met and became good friends. Started joining Action Industries, the brand, as you were. But speaking of Action Movie Anatomy, what did they cover this week, Richard?
Oh, yes. On Action Movie Anatomy, Ben and Drew covered one of the greatest Star Wars movies ever made, Revenge of the Skymaster. Return of the Sith.
Last Hope of the Sky.
Return of the Jedi.
That's the one. That's the one.
And it was truly one of the funniest episodes I'd say even ever had. They started discussing Ben's thesis for, I'm not sure if you were around for that.
I was. I saw
the musical number.
Yes.
Oh my God, I lost my shit. I was in tears.
I think offended half the community. No matter what they said, like all Star Wars, you say anything, you offend half the community. If you say it the other way, you offend the other half. My favorite moment of the week is not a specific moment. It's the idea that Ben and Drew are not like us as far as we are hardcore Star Wars fans.
I think you were more hardcore. I'm still verging on the side of like being a casual fan.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Fair enough.
I feel like I'm a hardcore fan, but I don't know enough to be a hardcore fan.
Well, let's just say that you're a hardcore fan in comparison to Ben and Drew. Ben and Drew are definitely much more casual fans. So it's very interesting to me to get their perspective on that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's also quite funny when you see them starting to fumble for names and mispronounce character names and parties like. But
it's truly funny, but it's kind of also a good thing for them because they will look at a Star Wars movie as like they will look at it critically, not from a Star Wars fan point of view.
Correct.
So in that sense, they're kind of, what's the word? Unbiased.
Unbiased. That's a good point. That's a very good point. It's humorous to me. I don't know if you caught. We didn't mention it. Last week. I was on The Phantom Menace, which they were covering as also part of their lead up. And I got to tell you, you saw me correct them a few times. There were like probably 6, 7, 8 times more where I was like biting my tongue and like, let it go.
Thank God you weren't mic'd. They would have looked so stupid.
And the producer Ryan Nilsson's a much more bigger fan. He does a Star Wars show on the Popcorn Talk Network, so I'm sure he and I would have bonded over some of the more humorous moments. But either way, what was their pitch of the week?
So for next week or even next episode, they are going to be doing something very unique. They've never done this before. They are going to be seeing The Rise of Skywalker on Tuesday. And
Well, I'll tell you, let's interject now. By the time you're watching this, this has already happened. We have jumped forward in time. For us, in the future. For you, it's a couple days ago.
That's right. So they will be doing a full spoiler review of The Last Skybender.
Walking the Runs, Revenge of the... Yeah.
So the newest one, episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, they will be doing a full spoiler review and an episode of Action Movie Anatomy on the Popcorn Talk at 12:01 a.m. on essentially a Wednesday then.
Pacific time. Yep, right after
that's exactly when the embargo lifts, and they will be one of the first ones in the world to review it, which is kind of cool.
I think they probably will not expect many live viewers at that point, but they will have the review ready to go for when, as soon as you go watch the movie, you can come home, flip on Ben and Drew to see what their take is, and hopefully it'll be a good one, because that right there, my friend, will lead us into what we are doing first. We usually do a review of our film. Like, we take a film and review it. We're doing a little something different this time. With this time, we are going to do a preview of a film, because we just want to talk Star Wars always. So let's get our thoughts on, yes, Drew, The Rise of Skywalker. That's the real title we're going for. The Rise of Skywalker, episode 9, completing the Skywalker saga of over 40 years in the making.
That's an interesting word, completing. Because Kennedy said it's not finishing. Did you watch The Red Carpet?
I actually did
not.
not.
Kennedy said this will not be finishing the Skywalker saga. This will be completing it, which is a very interesting thing to say.
I did not actually get a chance.
And she actually said that a Skywalker might pop up in future movies, and I was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" They kind of.
Well, that to me sounds like, I mean, just interject, it sounds to me like maybe the Skywalker saga, like as a Skywalker, as the featured characters, will be done, but maybe a Skywalker could appear in a movie later on, but it just wouldn't be as more of an ancillary character or less focused on the Skywalkers, which to me would be kind of cool, because I love these characters, and having them jump completely off ship to a completely new era without ever hearing from the Skywalker saga characters again would be, sad. But let's end the Skywalkers as the main focus, shall we say?
Yep. That's right. So, tell me, Paul, what are you? Well, instead of asking what are you expecting, what is your theory for Rey's heritage?
That's always been one of the big things. It's been Rey or Palpatine.
So we haven't seen the movie. This is totally conjecture right now.
Totally conjecture. Actually, by the time you watch this, we have seen the movie by the time you watch it. But by the time we're recording it, no, we haven't seen the damn thing. I have avoided almost, I'd say I avoided 99% of the spoilers. I had a few things drop, but nothing plot-wise that I've been totally avoiding it. Thank goodness. Hopefully that stays the same.
Let's hope so.
But one of the big things going from the very beginning of the Force Awakens, and especially with The Last Jedi, is Rey's heritage. Now, if you know me, I like to throw crazy batshit theories on the wall and hope they stick. I was a big proponent of the clone theory, if you ever heard of that. The clone theory of back in the day during the prequel trilogy, there was a theory running around that Palpatine was a clone, that Palpatine and Sidious were actually two different characters, like were clones of each other. I'll have to get into that another time, maybe when we talk about the prequel trilogy versus the sequel trilogy, which is going to be coming up from us. But I digress. I'll go into this batshit crazy theory. Is where does Rey come from? What's going to be satisfying? There's two sides of the camp. There's the ones that say Rey's got to come from nothing. She's got to be nobody. They got to continue with that. Otherwise, it's destroying what Rian Johnson did, and it's destroying what should be the great basis of the character. Who is Rey? Nobody. There's the other side, which says that Rey's got to be a Skywalker, because it's the Skywalker saga. I mean, I have always tended to be more on the Rey. It's got to be a Skywalker in some fashion because it just, again, as a central character of the Skywalker of the sequel trilogy of the Skywalker saga, I kind of want it to be a Skywalker. Yeah, I know Ben's a Skywalker. Luke's still in it. I get it. So, but part of me seems a little bit cheated otherwise. So, what did I do? I tried to come up with something which would be impossible to do in Star Wars, is try to satisfy all the audiences. Do I succeed? I don't know. But my theory is that Rey is I don't want to say clone, because she's not a clone. She is a creation. Rey is a creation from Palpatine. That's my theory right there, because Palpatine has been, obviously somehow Palpatine's coming back. We saw him explode at the end of Return of the Jedi. Spoilers for a movie from a long time ago. But somehow he's back in this one. We don't know how yet. That's another big conjecture. But how did Palpatine come back? Is it a clone body somehow? That was in the expanded universe back in the day. They had a whole set of clones. Or maybe was it that Palpatine was experimental with the Force? He already implied in Revenge of the Sith at one point that he and Plagueis may have even created Anakin Skywalker. That was an implication that was made. They were using midichlorians to help create life and things of that nature. So it makes sense that he's experimenting the whole way through, possibly to extend his life, possibly to give him some kind of upper hand in the battle of world galaxy domination. So what if Rey is one of Palpatine's experiments? And
so she's not she's not Palpatine's blood in the sense that she's not a clone. Do you think she's just a creation?
I think a creation using the best of the Force users of the saga, from Palpatine, maybe Maul, maybe Dooku, but more importantly, from Anakin Skywalker.
Okay, so you think it's from Anakin, not from Luke?
Maybe, at least Skywalker blood, it could be. The reason why I said this is that I don't know how well known this is to the general public, but if you dig deep, the opening shot from The Force Awakens initially at one point was Luke Skywalker's hand flying through space, like the cutoff hand from Bespin. So why would you do that? Looking for the lightsaber, maybe. There's other ideas, but it sparks that idea of DNA. Somebody found his hand, they used his DNA, something to that effect. Maybe they used it to help create Rey. They want to create the ultimate Force user, the ultimate weapon. You have Palpatine's blood, you have Anakin's DNA, anything to create a new life. So why Rey, and why is she abandoned? Because she showed some kind of compassion, showed some kind of good, and Palpatine didn't want anymore and didn't think she was worthy anymore. So he kicks her to the curb in Jakku, kicks her to these filthy junk traders who found her. And
right. So these no-one parents, these are her like step parents.
Correct. That's my assumption.
So that kind of I really like that, and that's what I discovered last night when I watched The Last Jedi as well. Is there can be both. They can be no one, and they can be junk traders.
Right.
Because if she's a creation, there's no one, but technically she has step parents.
Absolutely. And that to me, if you see the trailer for Rise of Skywalker, you have the Dark Rey moment with a double-edged lightsaber. To me, that furthers my theory that is probably Rey 2.0. Like Palpatine tosses Rey to the side,
additional Rey,
makes a new Rey. Okay. This is where Rey is more along the lines of what Palpatine wants. I don't know if Palpatine inhabits her or something to that effect. I don't know, but that's my thought process on that. How about you?
Very similar to yours. When I watched The Last Jedi, my first thought was only from Palpatine, because I liked what I think it was Kylo that said to Rey when they were Force connected that she should. I'm just paraphrasing here. That she should join him away from the light side, because that's what she was made to be. Made to be. So I'm more in the camp that she actually is a clone and not a creation, because one of the most visually stunning scenes is when she's in the cave and there's like so many of her. That has to mean something. I think that there were many of her, and I think she's the only one that was left. And I also think that when we see Dark Rey, it's not another Rey, but it's another coded in Order 66 that snaps her. That kind of like rewires, wakes the sleeper agent and then she has the struggle if she's coming back or not.
We'd have like a Superman 3 battle, Superman versus himself kind of thing.
I know this is I know this is like super wild conjecture, but I kind of like these totally out there.
This is my favorite part of Star Wars. Something we've lost in discourse as the fandom's kind of become a little more toxic, a little more back and forth of who has to be right, yet whatever. I love the batshit crazy. Let's just shoot the shit, talk Star Wars, and smile about it. And that's me. That's me. So I love it.
Two maybe things that we can touch on, not as long as we did right now. But do you think Kylo will get turned?
Will Kylo get redeemed?
Yeah.
I kind of have a feeling. I think that Kylo will not redeemed. I think he'll sacrifice himself to save Rey for something, maybe at some point, maybe because of Leia. But I think he's got to die. I don't think he can be redeemed and come back to the good side. So I think he's done too much. I think he has to die.
That kind of makes sense that he wants to copy Vader. So you kind of make sense that he would copy sacrificing himself.
Right.
I like that. I like that.
Kind of rings true like a poem, you know. It always rhymes.
That's right.
Lucas is
and
always
the third one, do you think Palpatine will be there in the flesh?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I don't know why. Well,
not as a Force ghost, not as a manifestation.
I'm kind of 50-50 on it.
Okay.
I want to see it happen in a way, but I want to see it as long as it's explained off well. If it's some kind of clone situation, I don't know. I don't know exactly what would make me happy. I don't know what would make me happy about it, but I want to make sure it works. If it doesn't work, I'm okay with a Force ghost or a spirit thing as long as it's done well. That's what I care about most of it.
So do you think Snoke was Palpatine or a totally different?
I think Snoke was different. I think Snoke maybe might have been a failed creation of Palpatine too. Also, could be like maybe Snoke was the first one and he like rebelled and went on his own, so to speak, and tried to do his own thing, but failed miserably or whatever. So, one last thing before we are actually 20 minutes in. This is a lot for the we usually do it in a review, but Star Wars. We just keep going. But I will ask one last thing. I will say, as far as excuse me, as far as Star Wars goes, what do you think about Kylo? Well, we talked about Kylo Ren's redemption already. So, what do you think about any other characters are living or dying at this point? Like, let's say a quick through, Leia.
Well, that's the most interesting one. That I don't think they'll kill, because the point was to kill off. Okay, spoilers from the sequels. They kill off Solo. They kill off Luke. They kill off Leia. That was the plan, right? I don't think they can kill off. It depends on how, but I think it will be more like they did in Furious 7 when Paul Walker like drove off. You know, they didn't kill him off, but sort of gave him a farewell. So I think
ironic,
kind of in the lines of that.
Okay. Finn.
Yeah, surviving.
Okay. Kylo.
Nope.
No. Okay.
It's tough. It's really tough. But I'd say no. Yeah, and Poe Dameron. Do you think Poe and Rey might get together? Because there was the "I'm Rey, I know." Oh no, other way. I'm Poe, I know. Which way?
Yeah, I think it was like Poe, I know. No, I'm right. I know they're I'm Rey, I know. Yeah. I don't know. I actually can't remember. I'm watching Last Jedi tonight, so I'll let you know. I think that Poe and Rey do not end up together. I think they're just going to stop the whole thing. They're going to have like flirtations, but at the end of the day, Rey's going to be by herself, I think.
Okay, I'm going to make a wild prediction. Kylo and Rey both die.
Yeah, that's something I have talked about. I have talked about that
they
as
go
well.
Together. I'm gonna predict that.
All right. I'm going to argue against that. I like the idea only because I think at the end of the day, there's got to be someone who can use the Force to be some kind of trainer, so to speak. Or unless we're all going to train.
That kind of leads into where do I want to see the saga go after this trilogy, which I think we should save for next week.
Okay, yeah, I'll do with that too.
But I think there's an argument to be made to kill her off.
All right, one more. Over under 50%. We see Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker.
Okay, over because I want to. I will lose my shit. I want to so bad.
I want to connect the content. I want, because here's the thing that I have to say real quick before we move on. To me, one of the biggest no, not failings. It's not a failing really of the sequel trilogy. Is that 1 through 6 has always been the story of Anakin Skywalker. It was the fall, and then the original trilogy, the Adventures of Luke Skywalker, was more the redemption and return of the Jedi. That's what the Jedi is. Return of the Jedi is return of Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one. So without his presence has been kind of touch and go with the helmet, and Kylo talks to him. But I want to see him have like a. If this is a big finale, I think you need to have Anakin Skywalker there.
I think so too.
That's my thought process. I'm hoping
that's
so.
gonna be my fist bump if that happens. I'm
Exactly.
gonna just yell out in the cinema.
It's about the only thing I can think of that I might be disappointed in. If like I don't want to go in with expectations at all. Actually, I don't. But I think I might be a little disappointed if he's not.
Same.
I can't help it. I can't. I would be able to help it. But anyway, let's digress. We are 20 minutes in. Let's go into what's supposed to be our meat of the show. A little lesser this week compared to things we're so excited about.
Before we do that, we got to get into your favorite segment.
Oh,
what would Ed Harris play?
That's true. I almost forgot it. Thank you, Richard, for pointing out. We got the man himself, Ed Harris, my favorite actor of all time, and on Class Action every week. We like to say the phrase, what would Ed Harris play? We either put him into a role in the movie that's already existing, or we write him a new role. In this case, we're going to do a little differently. Instead of saying, what would Ed Harris play in Rise of Skywalker, since we haven't seen it, we will just say, what would Ed Harris play in the Star Wars universe? And do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I just came up with another one. I'll go first because mine's aren't very smart this time around. I felt kind of uninspired because I was trying to find the perfect role for him. But I feel like
calling yourself stupid. Don't call yourself stupid.
But okay. First off, the first picture that you showed kind of would portray him perfectly in the role that I'd have him. I'd have him as one of Rey's junk trading stepfathers.
Right. Okay.
And it would be kind of funny just having like.
I've seen him play junk really, really well. Like a movie called Touching Home, where he plays a really wasted alcohol. And Pollock, he was an alcoholic in that as well. So he can do that really, really nice. I know where you're going with that. I like what I say.
And the other one that I just came up with, I'm having trouble. I love the actor Donald Gleason. He's turning into a cartoon a bit too much. I know he's kind of comedic relief as well, but like in The Last Jedi, the commander who gets blown up at the very beginning, who's the dreadnought captain, fire on the base.
Oh yeah, Commander Kurtz, you got that.
I freaking love him. I want Ed Harris to take over as General Hux, to have him the authoritarian figure.
Authoritative, yeah.
Have like this like weight and like deep voice and not be that much of a comical character.
Can you imagine Ed Harris giving the Gleason speech in Force Awakens? That would have been good. Okay, I like that. I do like that. Mine is less Skywalker Saga only because there's an unaired episode of Class Action that we did a couple of weeks ago where we touched on the Mandalorian as well as a couple other things, and I went into that there rather. But Ed Harris actually inspired a piece of expanded universe characters, a character called Cal Serrata, who was a Mandalorian who actually trained clones for the Army of the Republic. And it was based on Ed Harris, and I've seen artwork of Ed Harris in that role.
Yeah,
and he looks just like him. And that is what I would want to see. I would see Ed Harris in the older, grizzled Mandalorians. Maybe at this point, maybe in episode 9 era. I mean, he's like one of the last Mandalorian troops out there. We don't know what it's like. We haven't gone through Mandalorian yet. We don't know where they are as far as episode 9 goes. So I would say that would be an amazing thing. Ed Harris leading the last of the Mandalorians, so to speak. And that would be great to come in. Oh, I'll throw it in there now really quickly. Again, this is conjecture, but Mandalorian's coming out on Wednesday this week.
Oh,
They're actually especially coming out on Wednesday this week. And reportedly there's something in the maybe post credits or something. I don't know if it's just a preview or what it is, but I'm wondering if there's something that's going to be in Mandalorian which comes into play at Rise of Skywalker.
It would make sense.
Let's go all out, right? So, I don't know. Who knows? But either way, Baby Yoda and Rise of Skywalker, you heard it here first. But maybe I ought to come back and like, but either way. Okay, that's the end of that segment of our show. Hopefully, you're all still with us with our really crazy out there theories. But now we're going to get into what we call the class action brief of the week, as we've mentioned before. And this week's brief, which we haven't mentioned what it is yet, it's fitting. It's fitting because we are going to take on the end of each trilogy. Rise of Skywalker ends the sequel trilogy. So we haven't seen that yet. We are going to go with Return of the Jedi from the original trilogy and pit it up against one of our favorite films also, Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
Yes. Now, to a lot of people, that's kind of a heretic statement, trying to put these two up against each other. OT versus
These are my two favorite Star Wars movies.
That is why it's going to be a fun episode, because Revenge of the Sith is my second favorite Star Wars film of all time. And I'm an OT guy generally, but I love Revenge of the Sith. I also love Return of the Jedi. My top four will never change. The order within the top four might change, but it's always the original trilogy and Revenge of the Sith. Everything else, I love everything else. I'm not one of the people who hates it. I love all the movies, but those four are like definitely my favorites of the saga. So,
well, for me, the first one, it changes. Someone wants to say hi. The first one, it's going to be either Sith or Jedi, and it changes constantly. Right now, it's actually Revenge of the Sith.
All right, fair enough.
So, but I'm approaching the subject very objectively.
Well, we have our category, so it could change.
Not really, but I'm gonna try.
Okay.
So
I am completely objective at this point, so we'll go from there.
Good. Well, I think I'm gonna introduce the categories that we have for this brief. So I'll just run through them before getting into them.
Yep.
The first one is better ancillary villain. So you can either you actually explain what is ancillary in this.
Okay. Well, as you know, for both Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi, Palpatine is the big baddie in both. So how can you really compare and contrast Palpatine with Palpatine? You could say where they are at the time, but that seems kind of like a non-starter of a conversation. But both films have secondary villains. Revenge of the Sith has, you have General Grievous, you have Count Dooku, and technically you could call Anakin Skywalker, but again, that's Anakin Skywalker versus Darth Vader. It seems like a different kind of conversation. So I was like, you take somebody like a General Grievous or a Count Dooku, ones who aren't the big baddies of the film, but definitely stand in the way of the good guys. Whereas Return of the Jedi has their own set. You have characters like Jabba the Hutt, characters like Boba Fett, things of that nature. You could pick up any of these secondary villains and put them up against each other and see which has the better supporting villain cast, so to speak.
So which ones did you pick?
I picked.
Let's not get into it. I just want to make sure we introduce the categories and then.
Yeah. Okay. It's okay. Well, you know what? I'll save it. Okay.
So. All right. So the next one, the first one was better ancillary villain. The second one is better score. That's a big one.
John Williams, but
scores. Yeah, but still, there's arguments to be made.
Absolutely.
So the next one, better space battle.
Lots
of space battles. Well, one big one in both of them, and some smaller ones. Yep. One of the biggest reasons why we love Star Wars, better duel.
Yes, lightsaber duel / whatever. But mostly lightsaber duels.
That's right. And for the finale, no better category than the better finale. Which movie wraps up better?
Who wraps up the trilogy better? Not just the movie itself, but which of the end of the trilogies ends their said trilogy better? So, why don't we start with the ancillary villain? Do you want to go first?
Sure. So for my ancillary villains, I picked Jabba the Hutt versus General Grievous. Oh, he looks so cool.
He does look very cool.
So both are very different villains when they're going up against each other. And one, let's take Jabba the Hutt. One is like a puppet slug who can barely feed themselves, let alone like protect him. And the other is like a CGI badass looking. I don't know. He's like an alien, but he's sort of like droid-like. I'm sure there is a lot of lore, but he's almost like a droid. But he's got an organic brain and a heart, if I'm not mistaken.
There's some organic left to him.
So like very opposing types of villains, but still, I had so much trouble deciding which one would win, because if you can't put them together, which one would win in a fight? That's easy, Grievous being trained in the Jedi arts and almost like taking Obi-Wan Kenobi out of balance. He's like, whoa, when Grievous starts like whipping the sabers around, Love that moment.
Ooh.
But I kind of went with my gut. I don't have an explanation why, but I'm feeling stronger towards Jabba the Hutt, which is weird because I thought I was going to go Grievous.
Huh.
Because and I think if I really tried to, I think Jabba and Han Solo have more of an interesting back and forth than Grievous and Obi-Wan do. Although both are great, but I kind of like the Han Solo versus Jabba rivalry better.
I like that. So that's what you're going to go with? You're going to go with episode 6?
I'm going to go with Jedi and Jabba for the first category.
Fair enough.
What about you, Paul?
Well, I am also choosing Jabba for my ancillary villain. He is probably the best ancillary villain. Boba Fett's not in it very long. He goes out like a punk, unfortunately. I have Jabba the Hutt, but instead of Grievous, I'm going to go with Count Dooku or Darth Tyrannus. Now, it seems kind of weird to say Darth Tyrannus, Count Dooku is an ancillary villain, but in Revenge of the Sith, he is. He only makes it the first, not very long for the film. He was the main villain for Attack of the Clones. But this is why I say they both, to me, seem like they're similar villains in that they're both in the first third of the film. They both die in the first third of the film. And they both support basically just that first act, which is only as a springboard for the rest of the movie. I would say that...
You're just like... Oh, I'm sorry. You picked Dooku. I just wanted to say you just like Leia in a golden bikini, but Jabba's in anyway. So
that's true. That's right. Either way, and you're right. I do like Leia in a golden bikini. I'm not gonna lie.
It may sound weird that we're objectifying women, but she is an attractive woman, and she's wearing a bikini. Come on,
gold bikini. It was the gold standard growing up as a kid. Like that gold standard. All right. We're gonna get canceled. So let's move on. But I will say that I love, like what you said, the driver between Jabba and Han Solo. And I guess the reason why I like that better to me is that it's a different kind of villain. Whereas Dooku in Revenge of the Sith comes off as I don't want to say second rate, but it's more of the same. It's like the whole thing is, all right, the lightsaber duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan versus Dooku in front of Palpatine. But then you get the end, it's Anakin versus Obi-Wan and Sidious versus Yoda. It's just more of the same. Whereas Jabba is a different kind of villain. So, and you end up getting more of a different kind of story. You see the smugglers in there, you see the bounty hunters in there, and Jabba is the vile gangster, and that's something we don't explore it nearly as much as we should. Maybe we will now as we get away from the Skywalker saga. So I kind of like the idea of having that different world aspect and the power you could have. All of a sudden, you could have a Boba Fett, you could have all the different bounty hunters, you could even have a dark Jedi in his empire.
Yeah, Luke gets bested by Jabba when he falls in the pit.
That's right.
Luke shooting for a demon. And Jabba is very strong mentally. That's right. Jedi mind tricks don't work on Jabba. That's another thing that I didn't mention.
You weak-minded fool. I'm calling you a weak-minded fool for failing to mention it. No, I'm kidding. But so I guess at the end of the day, what you said, what I just said, I also am going to give this episode 6 and say that it is Jabba the Hutt is the more interesting and more apt to get a better story out of a villain than Count Dooku. So
that's right. So we got 2-0 for Return of the Jedi.
That's right. Oh, here we go. Look at that. So the next category, better score, John Williams versus John Williams.
That's crazy. I listened through both albums just before we started this. I'm having trouble.
I'm having trouble too. I want to talk through it here. I will say one of the only things I can think of that differentiates the two, as far as if you had to pick one, the fact that episode 3 has a little bit of a crutch in that it builds off of the original trilogy. Some of the better moments are based from the original trilogy.
But so does Return of the Jedi. It builds off
the episode 4 and 5. Exactly. And that's why my initial thought, I'm going to tell you right now what it is, and I'll explain why. I'm going to episode 3. Shocking, I know. But my favorite moment in episode 6 soundtrack is the Return of the Jedi. When Vader makes that amazing back and forth, and returns, and that the Jedi theme plays. And it's so beautiful, so powerful. 40 years later, I still get goosebumps. I still get at least one single man tear rolling down at that point. But it's all based on a theme we've heard before, which is fine. Use it because it works. That's why I use it, because it works. But in comparison, episode 3 had so many new and powerful themes. You have the Battle of the Heroes theme, which is awesome.
That's one of the best music in Star Wars ever. It's also such a long, I don't want to say song piece, musical piece, let's call it.
Yeah, musical piece, exactly. But you also have some great darker themes like Anakin's dark deeds, Padme's ruminations.
Betrayal is it's so heartbreaking.
When Padme and Anakin are looking across the smoke, when they're looking over the smoking sky of Coruscant, Anakin's in the Jedi Temple and Padme's in her apartment. And then I'll add into that the sequence in the Palpatine and Anakin are in the opera, and those are so many different aspects which are just memorable. I think they felt very fresh, but they still felt very Star Wars to me.
Very much so.
Whereas Return of the Jedi has some great moments. Don't get me wrong; it had some wonderful moments. The Luke and Leia themes in there. They go the battle sequences. The Emperor's main theme is really boring here.
That's one of my that's my favorite theme from Jedi.
Mine too.
Of course, that they integrated the chorus into the duel.
And do that at the end of Phantom Menace, by the way, too. There's a lot more happier. I don't know if you ever noticed that or not.
That's right. Yeah.
Naboo Celebration is like that theme, but just unhappy. So that's funny. Gunkish, we'll say. But so that's what I'll say. I'll say my favorite part, my favorite score is got to be episode 3.
I wasn't sure you were going to go there. I had way more trouble deciding which is the winner here because both scores. That if I couldn't pick which has the better one, so I kind of deconstructed the albums in a way that I'm gonna try and see who has the least best songs or the worst songs.
Okay.
And that led me to first off, we have the Ewok theme, which is kind of I don't even know what the word for it's
campy.
Kind of, it's very campy, which is fine. But then we have let's see if I'm gonna find the name for it. The Jabba's Palace song "Lapti Nek." I know it's added later, but it's still considered canon.
Well, I think Jedi Rocks is the official title for the special edition.
Okay, that might be the name of the alien who sings it then, but.
That's the original. Left Hand was the original. They had a song in there before, but this is more of a Jabba Rock or Jedi Rocks.
So these two pieces of music in Jedi are some of the weakest in the entire saga. So that's why I'm also giving this to Revenge of the Sith.
Okay. You're gonna get some hate mail on that. I know the original Ewok theme is considered the Yub Yub song is one of the most well loved, and kind of sad that they replaced it. Although. Well, we'll talk about this in the finale. So, all right. So it's 2-2 right now. Then we both said 3. Both said 3, and we both said 6 for the villain. So our next one would be better space battle. So why don't you start with your better space battle?
This is probably in Sith, the first thing I think of is the opening scene, right?
Yep.
The first battle of.
Or Coruscant.
Of Sith versus in Sith versus the final Death Star run in Jedi. So these are
those are the two big ones.
Yeah. I know you won't like where I'm going with this, but I'm going all in with Revenge of the Sith, and all in. This is not even close for me. I think Sith has one of the best openings in a Star Wars movie ever.
Okay.
And the way Anakin and Obi-Wan venture into Grievous's ship. It's for sure the biggest and most ambitious space battle that we've ever seen.
Okay. I will interject. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to talk myself through this. I will say that again, episode 3 has a crutch though, because episode 6 at that time, that was the biggest space battle we had ever seen. That had taken things a lot more forward. People remember going, "Holy shit, this is what we can do in sci-fi movies now." The effects were great for the time. So again, episode 3 builds on. Episode 3 runs because episode 6 walked. So I feel like that's something I want to at least mention at this point. Although, with that being said, I think I might go on the side of episode 3 as well, if only because it's Anakin and Obi-Wan, the main characters involved in the space battle, whereas episode 6 has the main people involved in the space battle is Lando, Akbar, and Wedge. All awesome characters, all characters I love to death, but not the main focus of the storyline. Whereas episode 3 Space Battles tries to do what episode 2 did not do, as well as build up that Obi-Wan and Anakin friendship that is soon to be deteriorated. Spoiler alert, by the end of the film. So back and forth, I will say that I loved what 6 did, but I think I might have to give 3 the nod because it does take it even further than it ever did before. And the score, one of the scores of that part of the whole thing, God, I love that so much.
And it leads to such an amazing set piece where it's all like one action set piece in the sense that it's a space battle. They go into the ship. Okay, that doesn't count because we're talking space battles.
Mhm.
They rescue Palpatine, they kill Dooku, and they get back into a ship and they land it almost like it breaks off. It's a very cool landing. So everything about it feels so epic. And
Although episode 6 has one thing, episode 3 does not. It's a trap.
And the Falcon.
The Falcon. That's a good point. That is a good point.
Don't change it. Don't you dare. Don't you dare change it.
I love the fucking Millennium Falcon. And I love Lando. Hey, old buddy, don't let me down.
Asteroids.
That's actually
Asteroids.
all right. I'll stick with episode 3, although it's very, very close for me. I love both of them very, very much. So it's 4-2 as of now.
Mm-hmm.
As we move on to better duel.
The big one.
The big one. We got Luke versus Vader in the throne room. Luke versus Vader and Palpatine to a degree versus Anakin versus Obi-Wan.
Yep.
And a sidebar will also throw in Yoda and Sidious as they both are concurrent.
Right.
Both are concurrent.
I totally blanked it out because Obi-Wan and Anakin is
the duel. You've been waiting for it for 40 years, or 30 years, whatever it is, 20 years. So
I think the score can be brought into this as well as before, because I feel both duels are largely carried by the music, right?
Yeah, I'd give that. Yeah, I would think so. That's part of it anyway. Although it's the emotions as well. It's definitely the emotional side from both sides. You have Anakin versus Obi-Wan, and of course all the "You're the chosen one." Of course, our favorites, and the high ground.
Yeah, there's so many great lines. I probably told this story also before, but the final battle between Luke and Vader is the very first thing of Star Wars I saw when I was a kid.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was sleeping, and it was the middle of the night. I was like 5 years old. My father came bursting through the door, woke me up, said, "Come quick, there's a really cool scene on TV. You just gotta see it." I wobbled out of bed. Great parenting, right?
Absolutely.
Out of bed, super sleepy in front of the TV. I just remember seeing a green and a red sword clash. No idea what was going on. One was a fair-haired young man wielding a green saber, and the other was a black helmet, black armor wielding red saber. Immediately, I knew which the hero was, and that's something that they discussed in AMA as well. Is the characters are so ingrained from the first moment you see them.
Right.
You know who's good and who's bad.
Right. Absolutely. That makes sense to me.
From that moment on, I was hooked into Star Wars. That duel packs so much weight and emotion that is tough to go up against. But with Sith, I think we also get that emotional side. Plus, we get some of the best technical fighting we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the best lines while they're fighting. It's exactly like you said, you were the chosen one. You were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them.
And Hayden and Ewan McGregor both worked their asses off to make sure this was the best fight.
Tell it's them. There's hardly any stunt doubles. I'm not even sure if there were, but if there were, you can tell who got subbed in or not. You can't find any stuntmen in those scenes.
I get it. All right. Well, what's your pick? Then I'll get into mine.
So this one is going to Sith as well.
Sith as well. Okay. I will say I will echo everything you said. I love Anakin versus Obi-Wan. I love the dialogue. I love the fact that it's definitely technically the best fight of the lightsaber duel as far as the actual fight goes, rivaled only by probably Maul versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon in the first film as far as technicalities, because Ray Park is amazing. But to me, this is a landslide. I'm going with episode 6. And this is why it's my favorite moment of the entire Star Wars saga, the Return of the Jedi moment, which I guess you could argue is a little bit after the duel, but there's a lot of emotion that's built up over the whole trilogy, original trilogy, and that is my childhood watching it over and over with the score. Those moments where Luke, well, I would argue with a friend. This is funny. This is again another topic for debate later on. But we all think that Vader kind of threw the fight a little bit versus Luke in Return of the Jedi because Vader wanted to seduce Luke to the dark side. I think because if you look at it, Luke is still kind of a green Jedi. He's gotten to be a good Jedi at that point, but he's still nowhere near the power of Vader. So I almost feel like Vader wanted to suck him into that, make him make that decision.
I got a counter argument, which makes that duel even better, is that Vader didn't throw the fight, but Luke kind of channeled the dark side when he beat down Vader and cut his arm off. You can tell he's going like, just like whacking at him. There's like pure emotion.
That's why I don't want to say through the fight, but I'm saying when Luke started channeling the dark side, Vader was like, yeah, that's what he's got to do. This is what he wanted. Right. But then when Luke showed him the mercy and stopped, that's when it was like, oh, okay.
I'm a Jedi like my father before me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. God. But my favorite moment comes later on when Anakin is redeemed, and that's why he's the main character, the chosen one. He is the chosen one. He turns back, saves Luke, destroys the Emperor. So it's gotta be episode 6 for me, right? It's too well ingrained. My favorite part of the saga, hands down. So I love episode 3's battle. Would watch it anytime, but I'm gonna give the slight edge to episode 6.
I figured you would. So that's one for Sith and one for Jedi, which makes the score
5-3 in favor of 3 right now.
Yep.
So that
only got one category left, and that's the better finale.
Better finale. Which one wraps up the film better? Or the trilogy better? All right, I'll start with this one since okay. Wow, such a difficult thing to face because you got episode 6, which has, especially with the special editions, I did like, even though it plays the Ewok song, they have the celebrations from across the galaxy. You have this from Naboo, Bespin, Coruscant, Tatooine, whatever. You see all the characters together. You see Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Yoda's Force Ghost. You see Luke, Han, and the company all together enjoying themselves. What?
You see Hayden.
Yeah, you see Hayden. You see everything together. Whereas Revenge of the Sith is a down, sad ending.
That's true.
But hopeful. You have the twin sons. You see Obi-Wan handing off Luke, and it's like the beginning of it. But to me, I gotta go with 6 because 3 doesn't seem like 6 seems like a happy ending, not an ending. It actually feels like an ending. Whereas episode 3, we know there's more coming to the story. We know 4, 5, and 6 are coming. So 3 wraps up the trilogy very well, but 6 wraps up the saga very well. One of the reasons why 7, 8, and 9, as much as I love them and I love the idea of them, was a little bit of a weird start in my mind because episode 6 was such a end. That was it. Anakin was redeemed. Luke and Leia and Han were lived happily ever after. So I think after that seemed kind of almost pointless. Sequel trilogy has done a good job bringing back some of that, but that's why I gotta say 6 wraps everything up.
I get it. That's that's definitely the thought process that I went down on as well. Revenge of the Sith has one of the most painful finales ever, and Jedi has one of the most joyful ones ever. It really depends on which way you look at it, though. Do you want a happy ending or do you want a sad one, which kind of feels like fucked up in a way? But what I think that Sith does so perfectly, I'm gonna say Sith takes this one, is you get so much pain and suffering in that finale. The way Luke and Leia gets, but the way Luke and Leia get split up and given to their families instills so much hope still, and nothing beats the moment for me when Yoda and Obi-Wan are having a conversation that I know his old master has made his way back from the netherworld of the Force,
Yep.
and he says, Qui-Gon. And this gives me a stronger emotional response than the ending of Return of the Jedi.
Wow.
Which is why I'm so pumped for the Kenobi Obi-Wan show.
Yeah, me too.
I want Liam Neeson in that. I need Liam in that.
Do you think you can do some improvisational comedy?
Oh, he better.
Well,
I'm sorry.
That's the
context. Watch Liam Neeson doing improvisational comedy.
There you go. Exactly. I guess that's it then. We actually have our winner. Contrary to most people's opinions, Revenge of the Sith has defeated Return of the Jedi in these 5 categories. I can't argue. Well, I could argue, but at the end of the day, it has been decided fairly, I believe. You and the audience might not agree. Leave your comments. Let us know what you think and what you think, why we're crazy, why we're...
I said I would be objective.
We are objective. You were?
I lied.
You lied. Well, I guess that'll do it for this show this week. Our longest show running to date, but that's how we get 2 guys that go talk about Star Wars. Things tend to go a little long. Hopefully you're stuck with us. Like and subscribe.
Just remember, Revenge of the Sith is better than Return of the Jedi.
Hot take. Hot take. I don't know if I can say that, but I will let Richard Eric Jarvi say that, and I'll give him the target. You can shoot things at him. In my mind, it was still, if we're just going on, just so you know, for the record, if you just go with my 5 categories, I actually have Jedi winning 3-2. So, but I will agree with the court's decision. That's what's been made. That's what we're going with. Richard Eric Jarvi, where can they find you?
Richard Eric with a K Jarvi on Facebook and Instagram, and follow Action Industries on Instagram as well.
That's right. Okay. I'm at Paul_DiNuzzo on Twitter, Paul DiNuzzo on Facebook. Also, if you can join the Patreon for Team Action, for Action Industries brand, great content. They do all sorts of content, especially with Schmodown Spectacular just happening. We're going to have behind the scenes episodes on that. Every match they do, they try to do a behind the scenes episode on. They also do give you other great content as well, being generally get to talk with them before every stream they do, 15 minutes before. It's usually 2 to 3 times a week. You got to have a general's bunker in which you get FaceTime with Andrew and Ben, discuss exactly the type of thing we're discussing now. We can call them crazy. They'll call us crazy. It's a lot of fun, a whole lot of fun. But that's what we do with that. We're going to say that will end this week, or next week's episode will be, we're going to say it right now. I'm going to say no, we're going to review Rise of the Skywalker, right? The Rise of Skywalker. And our brief for the week will be the prequel trilogy versus the sequel trilogy.
That's right.
And it's a lot harder to decide than you think. And it's a lot of divisiveness between both. So we'll have a discussion there.
I think we might use similar categories. I think it's a good idea to try and maybe fit these categories in there.
Possibly. We could possibly do that. We're in discussion on the categories. We haven't really hammered it down. We will. But happy holidays for everybody, since the next episode will be after Christmas and before New Year's. So we will salute you. And I will say court is adjourned.